perceived as Bill Clinton said one true thing. We're leaving here with a load off our shoulders. Of course, the load is Joe Biden. He said it out loud. And that to me is the principal issue of this convention. A whole bunch of people came here dreading it, or they would have been dreading it, and now they're leaving thinking they're in the game. I hear you on the freedom piece. I hear the word. I see it. But Republicans are saying freedom to do what? Where are we going as a country under Kamala Harris? I think the Democrats want people to vote for her based on a vibe or an attitude and not really think all that hard about what it would mean to implement the kind of policy agenda that she has mostly stood for in her career.
There is a striking narrative shift happening with the Democrats. I, I can agree with that, especially now that Kamala Harris is at the forefront. They're pushing a different brand of patriotism, a deeper one, they claim. It's not just about the USA, USA chants and the traditional display of American pride. Instead, they're framing freedom in a broader, more collective terms. It's not just the freedom to be left alone or the freedom from government innovation, but the freedom to live in a full life, supported by smart governance and community. This is the vision Harris is pushing, and it's being marketed as a muscular, fighting patriotism. She's positioning herself as someone who's ready to fight for the country and this new version or new vision of freedom, a blend of strength and compassion and determination and unity. Now, this is where things get interesting. Once this race became uh, Vice President Harris to lead, the Democratic messaging pivoted hard. They are now trying to sell a package of freedom, joy, and exuberance, a feel of good vibe um, that contrasts sharply with the tone of the Trump campaign. You can see it the way they've been celebrating at their convention, a stark shift from the tension many felt with Biden at the helm. Even Bill Clinton couldn't help but note that they're leaving uh, the convention with a load off their shoulders. And yes, that load is Joe Biden. For many Democrats, this was a convention they were dreading, but now they're walking away with renewed energy, feeling like they're back in the game. But here's the catch. While the Democrats are selling this new brand of joy and deeper patriotism, Republicans are right to ask freedom to do what? Where exactly are we headed under Kamala Harris? The Democrats seem more interested in promoting a vibe, an attitude, than getting into the nitty gritty of what her policy actually mean for the country. Harris has a record that suggests a heavy-handed approach to governance, and that's not something that should be glossed over with feel-good rhetoric. The reality is, three-quarters of Americans think the country is on the wrong track. So while Democrats may be celebrating, the real debate needs to be about who can actually steer the ship back to where it needs to be. This isn't just about who can smile more or who can make people feel good in the moment. It's about who has the vision and the policies to turn this country around. And that's where Trump and the Republican have a clear edge. We don't need vague promises or new definition of freedom that require more government control. We need a return to the principles that made this country strong in the first place: individual liberty, economic freedom, and the government that stays out of our way. That's the kind of patriotism that will get America back on the right track.
I've experienced this actually back in the 2012 convention. He spoke twice as long as his actual prompter copy suggests he would. He was very good and he did great work for us, but he goes where he wants to go. But he said one thing that I think was the line that stuck with me is when he talked about Trump, he said, "Don't count the lies, count the eyes," which actually goes to a fundamental message here that Donald Trump is fundamentally self-interested, that he does what is good for Donald Trump, and Kamala Harris is interested in working for people. And that is something they're going to drive again and again and again. But that was an interesting way to put it, and that's Bill Clinton. He turns those phrases and he does it in a very colloquial way.
He was also saying that Donald Trump says me before coming out, that Kamala Harris would be saying you.
He can still have a turn of phrase. I have to say that I think Scott was right earlier, though, and that there are people online who consider this a misstep in a campaign that is A, about the future, and B, focused on women. But I do think he also gave one of the most significant, full-throated, supportive goodbyes for Joe Biden.
Bill Clinton said one true thing. We're leaving here with a load off our shoulders. Of course, the load is Joe Biden. I mean, he said it out loud. And that to me is the principal issue of this convention. A whole bunch of people came here dreading it, or they would have been dreading it, and now they're leaving thinking they're in the game. I hear you on the freedom piece. I hear the word. I see it. But Republicans are saying freedom to do what? Where are we going as a country under Kamala Harris? I think the Democrats want people to vote for her based on a vibe or an attitude and not really think all that hard about what it would mean to implement the kind of policy agenda that she has mostly stood for in her career. And Anderson, there may not be a debate about who can be more joyful, but there has to be a debate about who can get the country back on the right track when three-quarters think it's off on the wrong one.
Well, there's certainly going to be a debate. Audie?
I was going to say the other F word is really forward. Over and over again, people are saying this is a decision about moving forward. It's the same way people were exhausted by the Clinton-era culture wars. You could make the argument that they're exhausted by the Trump era warring in all directions, and people are coming to the stage one at a time and using the word, can we be forward-looking? This is the way.
You just answer your question. I think they're talking about freedom for women to make decisions about their own bodies, freedom for people to be secure that when they vote, that vote will be counted and the outcome of the election will be respected, freedom to make decisions for your kids and to send them to school and have them read what their teachers want them to read and should be reading and learning. I mean, there's all kinds of freedoms here that I think are quite different than the interpretation of freedom that we heard in Milwaukee.
Okay. Yeah, I agree 100%, and I feel like this idea of the future being so much more important than the past. Like there's a nostalgia here for a kinder country. There's also a determination to go forward. I don't think it's as fluffy as you're saying. I think it feels good. It's got, but there's substance here. There's a commitment to make our public institutions work for everybody, and I think that the positive populism here that says you can have a better future and ordinary people, everyday people can be better off, and you don't have to demonize anybody except for Donald Trump to get there.
Well, I agree with you that there could be an agreement to try to make institutions work. It's just that the people in charge of the institutions right now are the people in this room. I mean, Democrats are in the White House, and our public institutions have lost a lot of faith since Joe Biden and Kamala Harris have come along. And again, we're having another night where we're sort of pretending that she's not at the center of it.
Do you think public institutions benefited from Donald Trump's presidency? We had people overrunning the Capitol of the United States of America. I don't think that did a lot for faith in institutions. Maybe the fact that they resisted the insurrectionists gave people some hope. But I wouldn't say he was an exponent of respect for institutions.
Thanks for tuning in. We just packed the Democrats' shift under Kamala Harris, her new spin on patriotism and what it means for America. But the real question is, does this vision truly lead us forward? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Drop a comment below and let's get the conversation going. If you enjoyed this discussion, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe for more content, and ring the bell so you never miss an update. Your supports help us keep this critical conversation alive. Thank you.